So welcome everyone to our conference today on Out of the Margins, shining a spotlight on gender-based violence against older adults. Today we have a full program of speakers that we are bringing you today to talk about this important issue. We're going to be exploring meaningful solutions against gender-based violence for older adults, often an issue that doesn't get a lot of attention in conversations around gender-based violence. We want to bring the older adults into the spotlight in the discussion today. Before we begin, I do want to start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we gather on the traditional territory of a number of First Nations and acknowledge their stewardship of this land and its waters as protectors of its natural abundance throughout the ages. We seek a new relationship with the original peoples of this land that remains their homes to this day. May this relationship be one of peace and friendship based in honor and deep respect. So to make sure that your experience is a good experience today, we want to just highlight a few tips. We are having as attendees, your microphones and cameras will be muted, but that doesn't mean that you can't engage in conversations with us. Our ASL interpreters will be with us throughout the day. So you can change the view of your layout on your screen. There's a little grid box on the right hand corner where you can change the format to suit your needs. We also have closed captioning enabled. So on your own screen under the CC, you can turn that on or off to meet your preferences. And we do encourage conversations throughout the day. There'll be lots of speakers and issues that will be talked about. So please post those in the chat box. For each presenter, if you have a specific question during the presentation, please post that in the Q&A box. And at the end, we will allocate time to bring up those questions. If we don't get to all of them, we do apologize, but we will try our best to get through most of the questions. We are recording today's sessions today. They'll be posted on our website next week. And everyone will be able to access that as well as the PowerPoints and any documents that are shared throughout the day. At the end or when you're logging off, depending on how long you're able to stay with us today, we do appreciate your feedback. If you are willing to spend a couple minutes just to fill out a quick survey, there'll be a link after you log out. We'll also have a QR code at the end of the conference and a link that will be provided in the chat box at the end of the day as well. So if you're able to give us a few moments just to give us some feedback, we would greatly appreciate that. Just in terms of respecting everyone's privacy and confidentiality, we do understand that this is a public forum. And we understand that there may be people that have situations that they need some further support or information about. We would encourage you to reach out to us directly and not post things, personal matters into the chat box. We've been more than happy to assist you offline if you want to give us a call, or you can reach out through our website. We've been more than happy to help you and assist you in that way. We just want to respect your privacy and confidentiality. We also want to provide a content warning before we begin the conference, because we will be having discussions and real life examples of trauma and gender-based violence that may be distressing or triggering to some attendees. We want to prioritize your well-being today, so please feel free to step away or leave at any point that you feel may be necessary for yourself. If you do need support, the Canadian Centre for Women's Empowerment has a website that lists all the different services across Canada that provide assistance. Because we have people joining us from different provinces and territories, please check out that website. And it does list agencies by province and territory where you can reach out to get assistance. For those who are joining our session for the first time and haven't been to our prior events, I just wanted to provide an overview of Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario. So our organization envisions an Ontario where seniors are free from ageism and abuse, where human rights are advanced, protected, and respected. Our mission is that we have included ageism and human rights because we know that those are so imperative in terms of combating elder abuse, especially both situations. And we've been doing much more advocacy in the last a few years in regards to that. So we have changed our vision, our mandate to ensure that we take action in those areas. We implement Ontario's strategy to combat elder abuse, and we've been doing this since 2003. And that is funded under the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility with the Ontario government. And just quickly, that strategy has three main pillars: coordinating community services, public education, and training for frontline staff. So this conference is part of that education and training piece where we want to give you more skills to enhance your ability to recognize risk factors and respond to gender-based violence. The conference today has some main goals that we want to achieve, and one is sort of identifying risk factors and related trends that are happening, including coercive control. We're going to be talking about privacy laws and legislation and guidelines for professionals to share information in situations where an older adult may be at risk of serious harm. We're going to be talking about practical approaches for early intervention, documentation, intervention, using trauma-informed best practices to support older adults experiencing GBV. And also discussing structured threat assessment and management frameworks to examine pathways to violence and how we manage that, and because assessment is imperative when we want to prevent situations from escalating. We're also going to talk about the intersection of animal abuse and gender-based violence, which we have not done in the past. And I think this will be really an informative discussion with the Toronto Humane Society and the work that they're doing and getting a better understanding of that as it relates to older adults. And that presentation, I think, will be quite informative. And also, we're going to be discussing approaches to improving safety and support for older adults experiencing intimate partner violence. We'll be discussing some tools and resources that you can also use in your workplace to advance your knowledge and approaches in terms of supporting older adults experiencing gender-based violence. Just a quick overview for the presentation today, or our agenda. So we will start with our keynote presentation. We'll then move to threat assessment at 11:30. We'll have a short 15-minute break because we do appreciate this is quite a bit of a long day for people. So get a coffee and refresh. Coming back, we will have a presentation from the Privacy Commissioner of Ontario, followed by the Toronto Humane Society, talking about that intersection with animal abuse and elder abuse. And then we'll be ending our day with more of educational programs and information that's happening across our country called the Wildfire Awareness. The new guidelines are out from the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse. And some work that's being done in a local shelter in Ontario, a campaign that's bringing attention to gender-based violence and intimate partner violence, including older adults, and just bringing highlighting the need to have about older adults in shelters and how they're accessing that space and how we accommodate the needs of older women in Ontario. And then we'll have a quick wrap-up discussion at the end of the day and highlight some upcoming conferences and training that we have in store for you. So without further ado, I want to introduce our CEO, Marta Hajek, who will be giving our opening remarks. Marta?
Thank you, Rianne. On behalf of Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario, welcome and thank you for joining us for our year-end conference, Out of the Margins. Today's gathering is both timely and necessary. It reflects a critical shift, the growing recognition that older adults, particularly older women, can no longer remain invisible in conversations around gender-based violence and intimate partner violence. For too long, abuse in later life has been misunderstood, minimized, or misattributed. Disclosures have been dismissed, injuries overlooked, and coercive control rationalized. Older women who have endured decades of violence have been told implicitly or explicitly that it is simply too late or it's too complicated to intervene. Well, it is not too late. Gender-based violence does not end at 60. It does not stop at retirement, nor does it disappear when someone becomes dependent on a partner for care. In many cases, violence escalates in later life. Coercive control intensifies, isolation deepens. Health vulnerabilities, we know, compound those risks. Systems not trained to recognize these patterns may misinterpret them, attributing fear to dementia, injury to frailty, or compliance to consent. When violence escalates unchecked, the consequences are severe and more often lethal. That is why we are here today. We have brought together leaders from the Office of the Chief Coroner, the Domestic Violence Review Committee, the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario, threat management experts, frontline shelters, national advocacies, and professionals working at the intersection of animal welfare and human safety. Because awareness is not enough, not alone. Addressing gender-based violence requires structured threat assessment and early intervention, trauma and violence-informed practices, clear, lawful information sharing pathways, and cross-sectoral collaborations, recognizing coercive control, and an unflinching examination of how ageism shapes our responses. Things that EAPO knows all too well. Today, we will examine systemic learnings, discuss privacy law, and risk thresholds. We will hear how harm to companion animals can signal coercive control. We will hear from shelters seeing more older women seeking safety after decades of abuse than ever before. And we will consider narrative change frameworks that must challenge how aging is positioned within human services and society as a whole. This conference is not simply about responding to violence. It is about preventing escalation, shifting from crisis management to early identification. And it is about ensuring older adults' experiences and voices are embedded in safety planning, policy design, and funding decisions made that will render appropriate levels of resourcing. If we truly believe in equity, then safety in later life is non-negotiable. Out of the margins means placing older adults at the center of legislation, training, professional practice, and resource allocations. It means recognizing that a 72-year-old woman experiencing coercive control deserves the same urgency, protections, and coordinated response as anyone else. This work cannot remain siloed. It demands that health, justice, housing, social services, animal welfare, advocacy, and community organizations speak a common language of risk and prevention. It demands leadership, collaboration, and courage. Courage to challenge assumptions, to intervene early, and to treat disclosures seriously, regardless of age. EAPO is committed to strengthening the ecosystem that supports this work across Ontario and beyond. But the true strength of that ecosystem is in each of you, the professionals and leaders who show up each day to protect dignity and safety in later life. Thank you all for your commitment and your expertise. And thank you for being part of this sectoral momentum. to ensure that no older adult remains in the margins. Today is about insight, alignment, and taking action. I'm pleased to turn over the program to Rianne to launch the day's proceedings. Thank you again.
Thank you, Marta, for those opening remarks.